I mean, we've heard so many words. I don't have anything to say. It's like, what we need is a good orgasm, not more words. Anyway, I'm Margot Anand, and I don't know if you know me. It doesn't really matter whether you do or not. It's very important. It's not very important. I came here because I'm in love with Sacha, and I'm in love with the New Earth Nation and this whole project. And Sacha is an old friend from Bali, and I was going to Ireland for an event, and I said to Sacha over dinner in Bali, hey, I could do a crochet through London to visit you. And then he enrolled me, the rascal, into all these events as usual. And here I am on stage talking to you, so hallelujah, but it's really about Sacha and the New Earth Nation. So, you know, I'll tag along, but I want to hear you.
That is the most chicken shit explanation I've ever heard in my life. This is about Margot Anand. We want to just play a short introduction video on the New Earth Nation just to demonstrate what it's addressing as a movement. It's a consciousness and sovereignty and, I guess, sustainability movement that doesn't broker any negotiation with anything that calls itself a government or an institution or a multilateral association or a courtroom. It is its own court of record. It's its own extraterritorial trust, and it is supranational, meaning to say it transcends borders and divides and cultural memes and economic divides and so on. And it is a virtual realm which is more real than the International Court of Justice, more real than the Federal Reserve System, more real than any of the criminal conspired corporate nation states, which are all owned by a clutch of Anglo-Saxons and a few other genomes thrown in. Most of us know a fair bit about this dastardly nonsense. But the New Earth Nation is really the antidote to that. But I need to say this, it is not a medicine that is being given to you to swallow. It is not being prognosticated. It is a blank canvas. It is a still point upon which the new emergence will take place, which is you, your emergence. Like I said, what is the economy? Well, you tell me. Let's determine that in a circle. What is the new social ecology? You tell us. And let's work it out. Let's define this metric. Muslims, Christians, Shiites, Confucianists, whoever, whatever you are. Homo sapiens sapien are welcome. Martians are not welcome in this space. So this is the New Earth Nation. Are we ready to spin it? I'll speak to it after this bit of propaganda here.
Through steadfast devotion to the gods of fear, time, and money, humankind was led to manifest a world colored by scarcity, competition, and sorrow. The New Earth Project is a supranational movement which directly challenges the old order and welcomes a new planetary metric for peaceful coexistence, human sovereignty, and abundance. It invites conscious, ethical, self-determining people of the world to cooperate in establishing a global network of communities which foster human, and planetary well-being and sustainability, redefining the principles that govern our lives. This is not a future dream, but a living reality, which, given the consent of the people of the world, can now be realized in thousands of communities across the globe. We have built a dedicated network of pioneers from all nations and faiths, each committed to manifesting this new reality. Our team includes many of the world's leading experts in sustainable development, permaculture, socioeconomics, quantum technologies, education and healing, and sovereignty and law. Stand with us in this great awakening as we unite in dreaming a new dream, where our world transcends fear, time, and money into art, beauty, and consciousness.
Thank you. That, like I said, is a piece of propaganda, just inviting people within a few minutes to understand that there is a transition that needs to take place. It is not, in my not so humble view, it is not a complex matter. It is not something which needs to take time. In fact, it needs to transcend time altogether. And when we recognize that time and money and fear are exactly the same thing, they are, in my estimation, the source code of the mutant civilizational framework that we inhabit. So, if the quantum sciences are true, and we indeed inhabit a holonomic framework or a holographic universe, then let's just look at the probability that in this particular vector of time-space, this particular quadrant of the multiverse that we're inhabiting is predicated on a source code, which at the consensual soul level, we, all of us, billions of us, elected to come into play. And here we are. And this is the game. And the game has run its course. It's gone through a galactic sleep. And we're now going to play the other side of the coin. And that's pretty much where I think all of us here feel that we are as individuals. I've spoken to a number of people today, and everyone is talking lately about the same phenomena. About, on the one hand, the failures, the Babylonian matrix collapsing, the frameworks, all of the conceptual notions and ideas that have been propping up our mutant ideas of reality are just dissolving. They're just not there anymore. So we're all of us pretty unsteady on our feet in many respects. And this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to be. In Alan Watts' tradition, it's the wisdom of insecurity. And in that space, by the grace of God, own that insecurity. Be fine about being completely wobbling on your axis. Because only in being okay about inhabiting that duende line are we going to transcend it. The duende line is the line taken off, I use this term, of the poetry of Garcia Lorca, the Spanish revolutionary poet, God love him, who was shot in the chest for promoting love and unity and all the right stuff back in the day. And he coined duende, which is a term known to the Andalusian flamenco guitarists and to the people of that crazy jinn-spirited part of the world. The duende line is that line, that indivisible line upon which the angel and the devil do combat for the mortal soul. We, all of us, are that duende line. We inhabit it. We are the living animus, spiritus maximus of duende. If and when we own that, when we recognize that we are the living kiss of the solar principle, of the crystal mother principle. Homo sapiens sapien. We are majestic. Angels bow before us as they must, as they should, because we are the emissaries of and the sons and daughters of God from source in this far-flung vector of time-space. Right, so in knowing that, in recognizing it and in owning that we are the all, the alpha and the omega, then let's dispense with the old source code from the old game. Let's just reboot the software. Let's marry that software to the framework of our highest serendipity, our highest bliss. What kind of a world do you want to inhabit? What kind of ecology and economy do we want to invent and play with? Well, we know it's not that one. We know that we've been encoded at our mitochondria level. We've been encoded with the wrong fractal forms, the wrong energetics issuing off that source code, which again, at the collective soul level, we invited into being. It wasn't done to us. This is what I want to answer a little to your beautiful diatribe. God love you. I love angry people, because I'm one of them. No. I mean anger as in fire of change, okay? The transmutative passion, anger, okay? Passion's good. But to answer to it, you're absolutely right in all you're saying. But we have to, people like you and I have to be a little wary of how we clash with the existing framework. We have to push it through. But you know, and I know, the only way we're going to do it ultimately is through absolution. And absolution, incidentally, all that you were speaking to, can only take place and only transition into the new paradigm provided we do not engage in the battle, provided we don't engage with the rules and regulations and statutes and codes laid down by parliamentary systems that have gone rogue, by judiciary systems that have gone rogue. Actually, we have to hold a still point. Because only in that still point is natural justice, universal law, pure truth actuated, which is to say the same thing as the awakened human heart. The awakened human heart, by definition, is the perfect vector in this time-space continuum, which carries the absolute alpha and omega of source consciousness in the now. So that's my little rant, but we're going to speak about a bit about Tantra and how Tantra translates into what we're envisioning as the new Earth nation, which is a nation of people, a nation of living men and living women, and not corporate fictions. Tear up those godless passports. Tear up those birth certificates. Tear up the marriage licenses and the death certificates and all the rest of the certifications, all of the contracts that you have been tricked into by these illicit corporate nation states and Babylonian priesthoods that go back many thousands of years. We do not exist as corporate fictions on bits of paper. We are living men and living women, and the power of God and the majesty of all will be revealed in us owning that space.
Wow, well, let's see, let me turn this off. I was recording him surreptitiously. I need to move. So much passion. So, I don't need to say anything anymore because he's talking about lovemaking and he's talking about Tantra. The point of stillness, the passion, everybody talked about it. So, let me try and see what I could add to this. I don't know what to add to this. I can simply say that I came into this field by experiencing when I made love for the first time, that I was propulsed beyond my body into a realm of pure light, and I experienced who and what I was before I incarnated in this body, and who and what I would be after I would leave this body. And this was like an incredible cosmic hit on the head, so to speak, and opened the door to spirituality through the first time I made love. So that kind of put me on the path of discovering what is an orgasmic experience, what is the orgasm of the body, how does it transmute itself into the orgasm of the spirit, which is ecstasy and bliss. And so I am absolutely amazed by the paradox that I experience, because on the one hand we all talk, and I'm here to listen, about what is actually happening beyond what is obvious, that we are enslaved by the corporatocracy and all this kind of stuff. And on the other hand, I also know that we are already given the psychedelic tools of our very liberation. We are already free beings. And even though we are enslaved, and even though all these things are happening, it is possible to walk through the world in grace. And it is possible to walk through a benign world and to go around the planet over and over again and only experience grace and beauty. It is possible now and today. And I'm living it, and I'm here to tell you, and you're here to tell me. Otherwise we wouldn't be in this room. Okay? So we are orgasmic beings. You are an orgasmic woman. We need to remember that. Okay? We need to ask ourselves, how many orgasmic experiences, how many blissful experiences have you taken the time to listen to and to cultivate in your day to day? Okay? This is the root of life. This is the root of love. This is the motor that makes us vibrate. Okay? And this is the motor of our freedom. Why? Because the moment we become an ecstatic being, the moment we have an experience of ecstasy, we become automatically free thinkers. Because we learn that we need to realize that we live in an anti-ecstatic world, and that we want and we are ecstatic beings that need to swim against the current of the anti-ecstatic environment. And we need to be aware how to do that, and we're doing it. But it's actually quite simple. It's actually already here. We actually already have been given all the tools to be ecstatic beings. So, what are we waiting for? I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I have given around the world for 30 years long lectures to everybody, all and sundry, and I've been on the media, and I've published lots of books, and blah, 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 blah. And I don't really feel like saying anything anymore. You know? I'm just here because of the New Earth Nation, and I'm actually here because for a long time now, you know, I'm already the grandmother of Tantra. Okay? So my institutes are working fine for the last 25 years. The trainings are full. We're extending the trainings from 1 year to 2 years. We have an international SkyDancing Tantra teachers training with 16 countries participating and teachers coming from all over many countries in the world to teach. And the last group will happen in Bali. So, you know, I'm done with my stuff. Okay? My stuff is working. Okay? But I have to ask myself the question, how does Tantra, how does our ecstatic potential carry over and beyond our sexuality, carry over and beyond our concern with our person, with our personhood, over and beyond our concern with how we make love with our mate, how to succeed making love or don't succeed making love. This is not only what it's about, even though it's ultimately important, but what it's about is the realization that we can only wake up together, okay? This is now becoming a social world wave, okay? It's not anymore about climbing on top of the mountain and sitting in meditation and waiting, you know, for it to happen. It's like, it's something that we come together to experience. We help each other in our bliss and in our awakening. And how does Tantra translate in the social context? How does it translate in the spiritual context and also in the economic or political context? How do we handle, you know, survival and money? You know, well, it's all been said already. Okay? But everything that was said today, both in the film with you and Michael Tallinger, which I totally loved. I think we should all have a copy of it. I think that film gave us all the answers we need to have. And I'm very grateful that I saw it, because it was a real eye-opener. That now it's possible. It's possible to envision a model of how we can actually be what we already are in freedom. You know? But this is already possible. I'm living in a culture in Bali that I love, and everybody in Bali has not a clue about all this. They don't read the papers, they're going about their business in what we could call over here highly unconscious state, but you have to ask yourself whether this highly blissful, busy state of every being in every village, having cousins, brothers and sisters all over the island, and being friends with everybody they meet, you know, and being very busy about furthering the cause of their own village, to which they're deeply connected, we have to ask ourselves whether that is not an interesting model. You know? And I feel blessed and privileged to be living there in a place of total beauty, which kind of happened. Okay? And it's pure nature, and there's a garden, and I can feed myself, and I'm not the only one. He's doing it too, and many other people are doing it. We can all do it. We're doing it. We're all growing a garden, you know. So, you know, do you, as a free being, you know that you don't have to listen to anything you're told. You know that if they're telling you green, you can speak and think blue. You know that you just have to, I mean, okay, this is how I operate, okay? And how I operated as a citizen of the world who has lived in 25 countries and taught all over every race on the globe, okay? Being concerned about the equality between men and women and the equal sexual rights of men and women, that was my big task. But I realized that you step into a country and you're being told a story, okay? Now, you have your own story and you care for your story, and your story is your truth, whatever it is. Okay? Now, as far as I'm concerned, freedom consisted, and maybe this will change, because I have to be maybe a little more integrative, but until now, as a woman, my freedom consisted in understanding what the local story was, and seeing how I could match my story with the local story, so they would leave me alone, and I could live my life in peace, and nobody would bother me. Okay? So I knew that I had to go around without telling things that would be kind of disturbing the peace, so to speak, or calling attention on my person. And by having this attitude, I developed the most radical training that has ever taken place on the face of this planet as far as sexuality is concerned. I did things that were in-fucking-sane. Okay? And I prayed to the god and the goddess that no journalist would come in my group room to see what was actually happening in this group room in the name of bliss, ecstasy, and sexual healing. Because we did it. Okay? We healed Yoni and Vajra beyond what can be imagined. We realized that being an orgasmic being can bring complete healing to your body, to your energy, to your emotions, to your psyche, and we can do it, you know? And so we can actually prolong the synapses from our clitoris as women of a certain age, okay? And we can take the point of pleasure and grow it through the point of pain until the whole area that we're working with becomes a pleasurable area. Okay? We can do that. We have been given the tools to heal ourselves. The marriage between energy and consciousness, between how our breath moves our prana and how our consciousness decides to think about it, to perceive it, okay, and to direct it. And when we bring those two elements together in consciousness, the sky's the limit. We don't need to be sick anymore. We don't need to be traumatized anymore. We can correct whatever we're given. We can stir it however we stir it, and we can create truly the reality we want to create. I am an orgasmic woman in all ways, and you are an orgasmic woman, and you are a present and orgasmic man if you so want to be. It's like that. And so, you know, what can I say?
Well, if that's what you say when you haven't got anything to say, what would you say when you really have?
Well, anyway.
So Margot, we're taking Tantra from the fluffy handcuffed basement. I'm being rude. I don't mean
No,
that.
you're not. It's
But
fine.
we're taking it from there, right, into the streets, into the urban environment, into our social ecology, my favorite expression today, because it's the one we really need to focus on and reclaim. And we are learning that ecstasy, the orgasmic expression, is directly connected to consciousness, directly connected to sovereignty. They are one and the same thing. I mean, for me, and for a great many frontline activists, Louis Montague is one of them, winning a victory in a courtroom is an orgasmic experience.
Look at you talking. I mean, have you looked at him talking? Okay, he's an orgasmic being.
I have that look on my face?
Because he's living his passion. Okay? And this is it. When you are living your passion, when you are fulfilling your soul's mission, whatever that may be, then you develop your orgasmic potential. Because the orgasmic potential is not just on the sexual level. Okay? It's the alchemy of the transformation of the motor of life as it moves through the sex, the belly, the heart, the throat, all the way to the crown, one with all that is. Okay? And so that happens at every level. And that's how we move.
That's how we roll, baby.
That's how we roll.
You know, I really, I don't know what time we've got, Avi, but whatever time we do have, I'd really rather just
3 minutes.
crack on and engage with interaction questions, because this is really not a stage versus an audience. It's the other, yeah.
Your wish is my command.
So get running around with that microphone.
Isn't she?
Question?
Look at her. She's just so pretty. I love her.
I love you, Margot.
I'd like to know if you've started to build any of the New Earth buildings.
Sure, I'll give you the very simple version. We began in July last year. We launched the movement. We've spent many years developing it, and I mean many, almost a decade. And we've had people involved. Michael Rice has been one of our great inspirations. He's a fellow of the New Earth Nation Institute. Louis Montague, Hope Girl, is a fellow of the Institute. Princess Nakamaru, Margot Anand. So we started assembling a brain trust around the world of experts in different disciplines, different areas of focus. The people that we regarded as the best in economics, in environmentalism, in this, that, and the other discipline, and started aggregating that brain trust together. We launched the movement when we felt we were ready to put what we esteem as the pattern of perfection that we arrived at after years of studying sacred number and sacred sound, which is the same thing, incidentally. The fractal nature that issues off a perfect number or a perfect configuration. We determined that the water molecule was the start point for the convergence of anchoring the celestial forms, so to speak, to the earth, to the telluric forms. It's actually so similar. Michael, are you around? Mike, what Michael was talking about, and Michael, I didn't know about that crystal fractal configuration, but this really speaks to me, because that's absolutely what we're doing. And I'm so excited to know that that's really where you're at right now, because for me, that's it. You're talking about actuating the manifest gateways, the stargate, the portals that act as the anchor point between the celestial and the telluric, which means to say what? what I was saying earlier, the solar codes and the crystal codes, the mother, the father, the holy dance, the most sacred dance of Shiva and Shakti, which is us. Here we are. And within ourselves, within selfhood, which is the antithesis of ego, self is sublime. Self is where we no longer listen to shadow. It doesn't have any imprint on us any longer. We identify that stillness within. We eventually approach that throne within self, and we take that throne, we sit upon it, and we crown ourselves sovereign in that space. This is me and me. This is taking Tantra also from the lateral plane, the engagement of the male and the female, into the inner landscape of the dialectic of the masculine and the feminine, the sun and the I won't say the moon because that's another story, but the black and the white, and owning that stillness that confluence brings about. So what we determined, Michael, was the water molecule was for us contained the math, the metric, of which if we began working with that, we could actually stand back and allow it to unfold at the fractal. So we've designed what we call fractal communities. We've begun designing them. We're master planning and doing land acquisition now in over 120 locations in over 70 countries. I was told yesterday by the director of our development team. We have an administration team of about 245 odd people. Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong, it's around about that figure. In 7 or 8 months. We're doing something right. And what we're doing is not doing, we're being. We have begun a pattern of perfection by recognizing that it is so. And allowing that to then determine the next step or the next stage of unfoldment. And we are seeing that same principle activate in every area. So we're talking about the incubation of vanguard science and technologies. And Hope speaks about how consciousness affects the fractal forms. If you're holding a negative frequency and you're standing within the ambit of that so-called free energy device, all energy is free for the love of God. But if we talk about the technology, this beautiful QEG technology, it is also acting in a base way, in the same way that Michael's technology, the crystal mapping technology is working. It's acting as the gateway, the point of stillness between the heavens and the earth, so to speak, where those fifth and super-dimensional forms can begin to lock and load with the terrestrial forms. This is the marriage, this is the true marriage of ascension. This is what we have been engaged in for millennia. All of those ancient cycles, those 26,000 year cycles, or the 200 million year cycles, the great yugas have all led us to this point of planetary stillness. Because the singularity within every single human heart that begins to actuate, meaning to say to engage in that same quantum, stillness, absolute presence in the here and the now. I am unafraid in this space. I move for no man. There is no action. There is no sound. And incidentally, going back to your beautiful talk earlier, when we are truly standing in pure law and pure truth and pure justice, there must not be any action. Because when we are in that space of absolute stillness, the bliss point of self, I become the living beacon of all subdimensional, superdimensional, interdimensional intelligence. I become the anchor point of all that is great in the now. And then I will burst onto the lateral plane through the center of my being and begin to radiate those fractal energetic forms. And they become the point of absolution that touches my mother, my father, my lover, my community, my country.
How do you translate in a practical way in today's society right now?
That way. By building buildings that are predicated on the same math that we're talking about. By eating food that is predicated on the same intelligence which issues from that same math, which is understanding. For instance, let's take it back right to what you just said. Water is principally everything on this planet. It's certainly the overwhelming majority of who and what we are as bioorganisms. The same stands with the food on your plate. So if we simply recognize, again, as Masaru Emoto is demonstrating under microscopy, that our consciousness affects directly that which we imbibe and that which we devour. And it's not just devouring food, it's devouring the energetics of one another. We are constantly eating one another. We're devouring each other at the energetic level. When I come in and I am imposing Luciferian light, wrong forms onto you, if I am a bully and I bully you, I am devouring you. If you were to stop and freeze frame that action under radiographic analysis, you would see that I'm devouring your energetics. So we're doing this constantly. It was Deepak Chopra, your friend, who taught me this some years ago. We were sitting on a stage and he said, in 2 weeks' time, and he was speaking to a room filled of ambassadors at the UN that we brought in, and he was saying, how the hell can we continue waging war and drafting legislations against each other's trade embargoes and this, that, and the other? It's all such a fantastical nonsense because, gentlemen, we're all in this room. And in about 2 weeks' time, 95, 96, 97% of every atom in everyone's body here will be on the other side of the planet. We will have exchanged our atomic frequencies with each other. Literally. My teeth become your teeth. My marrow becomes your marrow. There is only Maya that holds it all together. It is pure illusory nonsense. So the simple, bring it back to the now, is built environment. That man is one of the world's leading specialists in it, Michael Rice. But the built environment has to be a living one. Do not live in square rooms. Get out of square rooms. Do not wrap copper wire and mutant electrical forms in the electrical output that we use, which is also conspired to wage war against the human genome. Okay, corners trap negative energy. We sleep in beds that are not grounded. We walk around, for God's sake, with rubber on the base of our feet, completely disconnecting the telluric energies of the inner earth, which heal any condition with the kundalini, with our bioorganisms. So we are constantly allowing ourselves at every level of our lives, our work and our play, we're allowing ourselves to be disconnected from all that is great. So condoms,
or to be connected to all that is great, depending.
Absolutely, but I'm answering to this particular question, which is how do we deploy the metric in the simplest possible way? Well, kick your shoes off. Don't wear sunglasses. Don't wear sunscreen. Tear those condoms off. And I'm serious about that. You talk about inhibiting the dance of Shiva and Shakti, get rid of those Catholic condoms. They are ghastly.
Thank you. Sacha Stone and Margot Anand.